if you try to have everything in place at the start, you're probably never going to get started. But if you know your first step and you just keep going, the path is going to reveal yourself, and it's going to be so much more beautiful and bright and bigger than you ever expected.
Rosie Jermakian, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know that often coming into new spaces can be uncomfortable, but this is such a cool conversation that I'm excited for people to be able to hear. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your story.
Thanks, Joanna. I'm so excited to chat with you and to be here.
Yeah. So just a little bit about like how we know each other. We met through a mutual friend a couple of years ago at this point, and honestly, there was you just have this massive warmth about you that I think creates a safe space for people to feel very invited to kind of come into. And since in the few years that I have known you, you've gone through so many chapters in your life, and a lot of really cool growth has happened. And I thrive when people are thriving and growing and like shedding layers of old antiquated stories that just don't work for them anymore. And you, my friend, are doing this at like such a rapid pace, and it's inspiring to witness on the sidelines. And I cannot wait for you to share this, because I think so many people are going to be inspired as well, just from hearing what you've accomplished in such a frankly short amount of time. So I'm looking forward to getting into it.
You're making me blush already and maybe cry.
So like when I first met you, you were leaving your corporate job. And there are so many people in my experience as a guide and coach, and in my in professional experience, who have enjoyed being part of the corporate experience, but many people who appreciate it and experience a lot of pain, and pain on like a huge spectrum, right? It could be like a little like discomfort and feeling like, oh, you know, I'm riding this pony again, and like here we are. And then there could also be like serious pain that pops up, and but pain is pain nonetheless, and that requires some sort of pivot. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your experience post-grad, what your journey was like, whatever you're comfortable diving into.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, you know, I think the way that I approach life is one big experiment, and I am a yes girl. So when I graduated Virginia Tech and I majored in communication, I had a friend who I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I have always been a person where I need to be passionate about what I'm doing. So I was never going to sign up for a corporate job where I just didn't care. So I had a friend who was going to move to New York City, and she kind of planted the seed of moving to New York. I'm from DC originally. And I'd never had a dream of moving to New York. I thought I was always going to, you know, live in DC where the rest of my friends graduated and settled. And it felt like a yes. It felt like, oh, this is exciting. Let me lean into that. So I got a job through a family friend managing an office in a ethical and sustainable clothing company, managing the office, and quickly moved up to become a sales manager. Managed the East Coast for their activewear category, which was new and thriving. So this was 2013, when activewear was just completely taking off, and in the New York City fitness scene was just kind of exploding. Think SoulCycle era. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I thrived. And New York was just such an adventure to me. At first, New York was so overwhelming, and I thought I was only going to stay a year, but I loved the role and I loved the job because it was relationship building. It came easy to me, even though I didn't have a background in sales at all. I just really kind of jumped in feet first, and I ended up staying in the activewear sales industry for 12 years. And, I think it was a chapter where I really came into myself. I figured out what my strengths were. I loved being part of a team. And I ended up really supporting a lot of female entrepreneurs and business owners, a lot of which were moms in the fitness and wellness world. And yeah, I really, really thrived until I started to burn out. And, you know, I think what was really challenging for me towards the end is that I was the top performing salesperson on the team. My numbers were like always achieved and surpassing my goals. But then since the company that I was working for wasn't profitable, they kept on like year after year, whereas I was expecting and hoping and asking for raises and salary increases and wanted to grow in my role. I was being capped, and I wasn't moving forward in my skills, and it felt so frustrating because I can be an overachiever and a perfectionist. And it was really, really hard to step away, but I kind of just hit this wall, where because I wasn't moving forward, or it felt like I wasn't moving forward, my energy was just completely drained. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And what was interesting is that at first, when I was thinking about quitting, it felt like a failure. It felt like giving up if I left. It felt like I was going to let all these people down.
So how long, so was it because you weren't being given opportunities to grow title-wise and salary-wise that you were burning out, or was it that and other reasons?
I think it was many things. I think, I just want to say, first of all, that I'm so grateful for the experiences that I had and the opportunities that I had, because I was given so many amazing opportunities to grow and be, I basically helped launch two different activewear brands, which was incredible. But I think it was a mix of, not moving forward salary wise and income wise, even though I know that I was the highest paid employee, almost for sure on the sales team. But I think it also just was not filling my soul anymore. And like I said, I'm passionate. I'm a multi-passionate person, but it just didn't light me up anymore. I would sit down to my computer. I loved my team. I loved who I was working with, but I just didn't care anymore. I'm not a materialistic person. I never have been. But so selling activewear, just, I don't know. I say this all the time, but I would sit down to the computer and I would be a full body resentment. Like full body did not want to send any emails. I was just completely rejecting it, even though it felt quite easy to me. And I think at the same time, I was having all of these little inklings and of wanting to just have a different lifestyle. And I also started hosting wellness retreats. And so once I got a taste of bringing other like-minded people together who are mostly entrepreneurs, mostly also like high achieving professionals, to come together in community and to step away from our day-to-day life, create space to actually connect with ourselves, with each other, with nature, and not be behind a computer screen, and rest. And it just felt meaningful. And I felt myself be lit up again and excited again. And all of these people we were bringing together were benefiting, but I was also benefiting at the same time. Like we were all holding space for one another. And I just had this moment on our first retreat So this was November 2023. And we were practicing overlooking all of the red rocks in Sedona. And I just started bawling because I had this is it moment. I'm not doing sales anymore because it just felt like it mattered. And I felt like alive again. And I just knew that it was the start of what was going to be a very long journey to pull up so many roots for myself and kind of throw my life on its head. But it was going to be worth it. And I knew I had to go in that direction. So that was kind of just like the beginning of the end, I think, of my corporate career. And I saw like the way out of how I could create another life for myself with complete freedom, and kind of be able to travel and be untethered, and which has always been a dream of mine. And I knew it would happen one day, but that was the moment where I could actually see the trajectory and kind of my way out of the industry.
So you had basically like the full body yes, and the dichotomy at the time of like, I can't do this anymore, right? And so what in terms of, sorry, my camera. So what in terms of the experience and how long did it take for you to muster up the courage to transition out of corporate, and what gave you because I would imagine a lot of it also is, are you supported? Do you feel supported in multiple facets of your life? Like, what gave you that permission slip?
Yeah, so that first retreat was November 2023. And then I officially quit my job June 2024. So it was almost a full year. And that year was, planting seeds, creating a foundation to be able to make income on my own. And yeah, really, really, it was a stressful time because so many fears came up for me. It was a dream that I knew I needed to fulfill, and I knew I needed to kind of jump off the ledge and just do it. But everything in my mind of what could go wrong or why I should stay in this safe place, this comfortable place, because I was coasting. I really was coasting, but it was such a mix of things. The first thing was, I saw what was possible. I felt it in my heart that it was, a purpose for me. And then in that following May, so our second retreat was in Celulisa, Mexico. And I started taking surf lessons, and surfing for me has become kind of my spiritual practice, like my new yoga almost, because it's so grounding for me and it makes me feel so lit up. And when you're in the ocean and when you're on a board, you can't do anything but be present. Like in yoga, you can think and your thoughts can float away, but if you're gonna be on a wave, you are present. So I met a surf instructor. He's now a dear friend and has hosted, taught all the surf lessons of our retreats in Celulita. But I saw him show up every day, and he was so calm. He was so present, and he was genuinely happy. And so one day I was like, Ramon, are you happy? Like, are you happy in your life? And he didn't even hesitate. And he was like, yeah, I'm so happy. I love my life. And it was this aha moment where I was like, I have never heard a single person in the United States ever say yes to that question. It's always, yeah, I think so, but this, or when I get here, or there's this little thing bothering me, or, and of course he has his things going on in his life as well, but it was an overall yes. And I just said, I'm doing this all wrong. Like, I am making more money than I ever had, even though I was even wanting more, and felt like I was deserving more in my role. And I yeah, I just had like I had all my boxes checked, but I was not genuinely happy and my life felt so complicated, whereas his life was so simple and he felt so fulfilled. So that was just such a sign to me to say, I think I need to strip away all these layers and decomplicate my life. Um, and then, I think there's that saying of sometimes everything needs to fall apart and you have to burn it all to the ground to start over. And I think, of summer 2024, I just, like I was saying, I was full body rejecting working. I wasn't happy in my relationship. I knew it. I loved who I was with and I loved our life so much, but it wasn't working. It felt difficult. No matter how much work we put in together, because we really did try and we really did love each other. And my nervous system was out of whack and the life just wasn't what I did love for so long, just wasn't working for me anymore. So it felt so uncomfortable, the life that I was living. And I just had this huge gut instinct of that I needed to go and travel and continue to host retreats and just live a different lifestyle. So yeah, the hardest part was actually quitting. But in my mind told me that the hardest part and the reason why it was so hard is because I thought everything to follow, getting out of my comfort zone, like letting go of my salary, letting go of my insurance, letting go of my beautiful home that I created and my community in New York City. I thought it was going to be everything that happened after quitting my job and leaving, but quitting was the hardest part. So that's what I'll say to anyone who is thinking about, leaving their corporate job. I genuinely think that quitting is the hardest part. My nervous system went crazy. I would walk around the block, like doing square breaths and like tapping my whole body to try to move through the energy. But the minute that I told my boss that I was done and I gave them a month notice, my whole nervous system just completely calmed down. And I honestly felt like a completely different person, because I just was able to let go of so much stress and step into a more simple life that I had been wanting to live for basically since I graduated college. I had this dream of traveling nomadically.
So you had because I think for people who are experiencing this, like a desire, but maybe don't know what that desire is, there's this compass internally that is telling you that it's time to redirect in some capacity. You, which is amazing, had a fortune of having a vision to go alongside it. And that seems to be a really solid anchor in terms of the transitioning too, and that can allow you to propel forward in terms of like execution and moving things. So that sounds like in a large capacity was the support in a way. Your vision was the support that you needed in order to move through saying goodbye to a lot of things in your life. So anchoring into that vision and almost like believing it against all odds was what afforded you the gift of where you are now.
Yeah. And when I was thinking about quitting and should I do this, should I not, it was really this realization that if I didn't make any changes, I knew exactly what my life would look like the following year. And I had just done that too many years and I wanted a complete change. So it was also that thought of, I don't want to stay in the same place. I mean, I was always growing, but I didn't want to stay where I was for another year. And, it sounds cheesy, like let life pass me by, but I just had completely different dreams than the life that I was living at that moment. And, they say that like fear is a scream and intuition is a whisper. So it's really hard sometimes to listen to your intuition. Um, but it is so important because I think that is where you find fulfillment and inner peace and what is truly right for you. Um, and I think one of the most difficult things is I really don't have anyone in my life that I am looking to um as an example of how I want to live my life. But it was this kind of breaking free of expectations that I put on myself through what I thought other people wanted of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did that for so long, you know, going to college, getting the straight A's, getting a 9 to 5 job, ensuring that I'm providing for myself as, you know, a young female. And, and I think I needed to have all those accomplishments, to be able to do what I'm doing now, because I have this I think sense of reassurance that if anything happens from the lifestyle that I have now that isn't working out, I can always go back. You know, I always can go back to New York. I always can go back to that job. It's gonna be there, you know? But yes, living from a place of like, certainty and like deep knowing that I'm making the best decisions for me and not for anyone else.
So you had the first retreat in Arizona, and then after that you had a span of time where you started to sow some seeds before officially quitting. What were those seeds? What did that look like? Just in terms of like, in my mind, I'm envisioning people hearing this for the first time and being like, "Oh, that's cool. You held a retreat while having the job and you sowed seeds, but what, like, I need that strategy. Like, what did that look like?"
Yeah, I think, you know, it was creating a foundation through my retreat company with one of my best friends who I actually met at my company. We were both sales managers. And it was really creating and fostering that community. And then, you know, I wish I could tell you it was like saving up for a perfect amount of money in my bank account and creating this like really strong foundation. And I did all the things, but really it was noticing what was not working in my life and creating awareness and finally confronting it instead of pushing it to the corner or settling. And it was, I think, like gathering all the information to just say, not this. Like, I don't know exactly what I want to create, but it's not this anymore. And I make a lot of decisions from my gut and from my heart. And, you know, in human design, which I know we both loved, but I'm a non-specific manifester. And I just knew the direction that I wanted to go in and picked that instead of where I was. And that's also how I decided to move to New York and get into the fashion industry and, you know, take yoga teacher training and all these other big decisions in my life. So it was more of a just not this. I'm going to go in this direction and find out what happens. And, you know, when I officially left New York, which was, let's see, that November 2024. So that was my start of my travels. It was kind of like dipping a toe in. But when I officially left, I didn't know I was leaving. And I like put a post up on Instagram and everyone said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're leaving New York and you're moving to Costa Rica." And it's like they knew before I did. Like I just thought I was going on a couple months trip, but I haven't been back since. And now it's been over a year. I mean, I've been back to visit, but I don't have an apartment. I have never had an apartment since, and all my things are in storage. So it's just kind of, I think it's just kind of funny, you know, you don't need to know the full picture to kind of go in the direction of your dreams. You just need to head that way and see what unfolds. Because I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that if you try to have everything in place at the start, you're probably never going to get started. But if you know your first step and you just keep going in the direction of yes, or what's working, or in your intuition, the path is going to reveal yourself, and it's going to be so much more beautiful and bright and bigger than you ever expected. And you kind of have to like acknowledge the fears and say hello and like have it on the side to ground you, but just like see the fear and do it anyways. And I think that's been my biggest lesson through all of this, because I'm just so glad that I finally didn't let fear hold me back, because the life that I'm living now is the life that or even just even this chapter, because, you know, everything's finite and I'm sure something else will call me in a different direction eventually. But the life that I'm living right now, I've never felt so in flow, but I don't think that I truly knew what it would look like. I mean, I'm sure that I did not know that it would look like this until I kind of just ripped the Band-Aid off and went for it. And I was having lunch with my aunt about a year ago, and I was telling her everything I was feeling and if I wanted to quit and you know, all of the details, and she was like, you know, sometimes you just need to jump off the edge. And at the time, it felt so crazy and ridiculous, but sometimes you just need to jump off the edge and like let the universe catch you and see what happens. So yeah.
There's so many nuggets in what you just shared. One of the things that my very first teacher had taught me, and because she became a teacher and then a mentor to me, she said, you know, your pain teacher is going to give you so many blessings, right? As long as you know how to listen to the pain teacher, because the pain teacher can come and give you that whisper at first, and then it could kind of like knock on the door, and then it can start like really slamming, and then it can really fucking hurt until you make the decision that this is not for me anymore. And what you're insinuating is like, you don't need to know what it is that you love or what it is that you're passionate about or what it is that inspires you. What you can become aware of is what is no longer serving you. And you don't have to know the why. You just have to at least acknowledge that something isn't serving you in what is happening in your life and what maybe you're allowing to happen in your life. So how do I call in something that's even just slightly different is enough of a difference to at least explore something that can call in newness. And I think that that's a really powerful lesson and an important one that people need more faith in, I think, to trust.
And we are not, our dreams that we have and our like intuition, the messages that it's telling us, it's not in you for no reason. There's absolutely a reason, and it's so cool and so fun to figure out what happens if you listen to it.
Totally. And I want to talk about your journey and where you are now and all of the things within such a short period of time that you've been able to explore and call in, and simultaneously like what you've had to let go on. You touched on a bit, but I think it's a very important topic to talk about the duality of calling in and letting go, and how with a lot of beauty can also come a lot of discomfort in the letting go process, but how it is of service as well, and what can be done along that way. I want to call in.
Yeah. So now I'm in Costa Rica. I've been traveling nomadically for a little over a year. I have been continuing to grow our retreats. So our retreat company is called Radiance Retreats. They're spiritual growth retreats, and we focus on nourishment and connection and self-growth, self-love. Community is such a big part. Community is my jam. I think we learn the most about ourselves, interacting with other people, holding space for one another, and hearing other people's stories and struggles and celebrations, because we're all mirrors for one another. And then it's a place where people can get out of their day-to-day, their 9 to 5, their hustle, leave the burnout behind and show up on a vacation that actually is deeply restful on a soul level and on a physical level, so that when people go home, they feel inspired again, they feel lighter, they feel like they actually, recharge. Because how many times do we go on a vacation and you need another vacation from the vacation? So it's really like therapy and a vacation basically, and it's been so incredible and inspiring to watch people show up on a retreat on day one and leave home, and everything in their life has stayed the same, but they're just approaching it and looking at it from through a different lens, a different perspective, because they feel like inspired about life again and are rested and are connected. So that is just really my sole purpose right now, because the people that are coming on the retreats, I was them. I was that burnt out person who felt like I couldn't even plan a vacation because my mind was so busy and my life was so complicated. So it's so beautiful to hold space for those people. And yeah, watch everyone come together and connect in real life, in a world where we're just, behind screens and kind of going through the motion. And so, yeah, now I travel nomadically and I'll host retreats and I'll stay wherever we host for a month or so. The way I love to travel is slow and intentional and integrate myself in community and culture. And I have completely destructured my entire life. I don't work 9 to 5 hours anymore. I go with the flow and kind of the rhythm of where I am. So, Costa Rica, the sun comes up at 5:30 and I feel like I bounce out of bed pretty much every day at 6:30. Whereas in New York, I was crawling out of bed at 8 a.m. and felt so inflamed and exhausted and had brain fog. And here I just and most of Central America and where I've traveled so far, I just feel so much lighter. And yeah, I'm tapping into not having productivity define success for me. So, which is, wow, like something I've really, really had to unlearn, because it starts off in school. Like your worth is tied to a grade, or at least that was my personal experience. And that defined my success. And then, getting promotions and getting raises and locking in a sale, that defined my success. And it's interesting, I've been doing so much reflecting in this past year, but I think about the time when I was working in a corporate role, and I would think about when I would be the most relaxed or the most calm. And it was actually when I was behind a computer being productive, because that's where I felt like I needed to be, getting things done. So stepping away from that and leaning into this slower lifestyle and still creating this business and this community and a few other projects that I have on the side, I've had to seriously, seriously lean into the discomfort of what it feels like to be unproductive, or redefine what that means. And knowing that, going for a walk on the beach or taking a nap or not working during the day, like that is productive, because I feel like I'm living my life and I feel like I'm out there in the world. And yeah, and productivity is not why I'm here. Like I am here because I want to see the world and I want to connect with people and be present and actually just enjoy life.
How rich is that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, not rich in the new way, right? Like, that like when you're saying that, like I think that we're, there's so many people who are still subscribers to in my opinion, an antiquated rich, because it gives you money that allows you support, and of course money plays a part in it, right? It allows us to breathe and is do. But my goodness, like talk about your version of unproductive feels so fulfilling and productive because you're fueling your entire being, your physical body, your essence, your mind, and you're doing it in a way that's so aligned to who you like, to your soul and your intuition. You're listening to your heart space instead of your head space. And that is like coherence in the fullest form. My goodness, that feels very rich. That feels very rich to me and inspiring.
I know I've never made such little money in my life, but it's interesting because I was so tied to that, getting the promotion, getting the raise, whatever it is. But I do feel so rich and so fulfilled in exactly where I need to be, more than I ever had in my life. And when I say I'm a budget girly right now, like I am living so minimally. I'm traveling with 2 backpacks and my sound bowls. And I just I'm not needing things, because I feel like I'm rich in life and experiences, and in my lifestyle is really what is fueling me right now. And I'm realizing that I don't need much to be happy. And, if you were to ask me now, like, am I happy? I would say yes. And there are things and other dreams that I want to go after, and I hope that happen, and I feel very confident that they will, but I am genuinely happy, and my nervous system has never felt so calm, even though I have things that I'm still unlearning and deconstructing. I'm just so grateful that I jumped off the ledge and I am where I am now. And last year was a big year of experimenting, and now I feel very like confident in the direction that I'm going, and just continuing to the way I make decisions in my life now, because I don't exactly know where my year is going to go. And people always say like, hey, what's your long-term plan? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really have one, but here's my 6-month travel itinerary. That's like what I've got for you. And it feels really liberating. And I just feel I feel very guided, I think, at the moment, because I'm really, really making an effort to listen to what's calling me right now, and what feels like a yes.
That's awesome. Where do you envision the next few months taking you, aside from the itinerary? Like what are those things that you feel like you still are unlearning? Because there's like, as we talked about, like there is that duality, and it's okay that there's a duality. Life brings those things. So what is that for you?
Yeah, I think I'm still really leaning into the fact that I am living my life authentically for me. And I'm 34. My life and my lifestyle is very, very different than my entire family and most of my social circle and friends that I haven't met during my travels. And, and I don't have a home. And I've loved always living out of a bag. And I've learned to get very good at it. My parents were divorced when I was 7. So I've always had to pack an overnight bag and be on the go and create a home wherever I go. But it's still hard to not compare myself to other people in my life. And also to stay in my sureness of that this is for me, and that no one really needs to understand it. Although I have so many people in my life who it's almost overwhelming, because so many people recently said like, oh my gosh, you're really inspiring me right now. You're inspiration. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that comment because I'm just like traveling and living my cute little life and not trying to take it too seriously, but it is hard, I think, when I come home sometimes to not compare because I see other people create these beautiful homes and families um and I do want that one day. So I'm just channeling that energy of not from a place of jealousy, but of okay, like I do want that one day and it's going to happen for me and I'm so sure of that, but I'm on a different path right now. And like you said, like you can have that duality. So I think and the other thing is protecting my heart from not feeling projections from other people and giving other people grace who don't understand how I'm living right now because I think in the past I would have tried to fit in their box or try to justify what I'm doing or explain myself. And I know I don't need to do that anymore. If someone doesn't understand, that's completely okay. But hopefully they get to feel my energy and like my happiness. And, this summer I had a conversation with my dad and it might even make me cry because it did then. But, I was like, don't let him see you cry. But, but he said, we just approach life and make decisions so differently. He's very analytical and calculative and makes decisions from a place of information where I'm more heart. And he said, I never tell you no because whenever you make a decision, I don't understand it almost ever. But if I let some time go by and I see things like how they play out for you, I get it. And I get the why you're living your life right now and I could never do it, but I think it's beautiful. I was just like, oh, thanks, Dad, because I think I had in the past like tried to fit in a box for him or what would make him proud, but really living my life authentically for me is what's making him the most proud. So yeah, those have been some of the learnings.
I got goosebumps. I think that one of the biggest takeaways overall from this conversation is that you by virtue of living true to what your instincts are saying, and you don't know what that looks like or how the story is going to unfold, but there are so many people who are just going to feel into that, hear the stories, witness it online on social media, or see you in person, just kind of rolling with the paces and feel that, that feels really good, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that like their chapter of their life fully aligns with it, but that concept of it being inspiring because what you are doing is living from the heart, which is like the ultimate intelligence in this human experience, right? The brain, again, it serves a huge purpose, but like the ultimate intelligence is that for this is the first brain, our heart, right? To see somebody doing that and doing it consistently, making those decisions in that capacity, that's what is so inspiring. And you don't need to know what you're doing with it in order to like create more inspiration with people. Just by doing it and experimenting and exploring things that are more stimulating to you, like that is it, sister. You know what I mean? Like that's the inspiring element behind it. And the fact that within just a handful of years, you've been able to kind of like up and leave what like an urban lifestyle and just kind of explore like what it is to be one with nature and like the rhythm of that and move with that like circadian clock and just like up and travel because this place looks cool to you. You've always had that instinct, like, or this sort of connection looks amazing because that stimulates me, and witnessing others through me and witnessing me through others is like the best. Like those nods to you being who you are, like that is a huge gift that you are, by just living, creating such a ripple effect. And I like I cannot emphasize this enough. Like it really is so cool to witness from the sidelines.
Thank you, Joanna. Yeah, that means so much. Thank you for just seeing me and cheering me on. And I think in a way sometimes I've been hesitant to kind of share what I've been doing because I want to share authentically from a place of inspiring others to jump off the cliff towards what their dream is, what uniquely to them. And I don't, like social media is so hard, right? Because it's like a lot of it is conformative and like works off of comparison and jealousy. But I really want to share more to inspire other people to go towards what lights them up and excites them in life, because this life is so finite and it is so short. And I just want to be able to look back and say that like I did what I wanted to do and hopefully help other people to live the most fulfilled life for them as well. It's a lot of work. It's a journey. It feels like I'm taking like the long road almost, but it's very much worth it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
So where can people follow along on this journey and also maybe get a piece of you in person?
Yeah. So people can follow me on Instagram at Rosie Jermakian. My last name is Jermakian. And then also Radiance Retreats. And yeah, so my travels tomorrow, I leave for Sayuli to Mexico. I think I'm going to go to Guatemala next. Our next Radiance retreat is in Nicaragua over the spring equinox. It's going to be such a really powerful time to gather in community. We have one room left. I'm so excited to go back to Nicaragua and share this really, really special place with our community. We have 18 amazing humans signed up. And then I'll be off to New Jersey to support another retreat for an activewear brand. And then I'm off to Portugal this summer, and we'll see. Yeah, we're just going to have a European summer and see where the rest of the year flows. But yeah, so definitely sticking with the nomadic for adventure for the foreseeable future.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.